second. So I want to know about your books that you've been writing. Now, you wrote the first book. How long ago was that?
I published that book. It's titled, what was it titled? Reflections on Morals and Ideals. And I think it was about 2 years ago is when I wrote that. And honestly, like, I didn't even really plan on ever writing a book. Like, I never really like set out like, oh, I'm going to be an author, like, but I just found that through writing, like, I learned so much about myself. And when you write thoughts down, Jordan Peterson talks about this, actually. He talks about how writing is great because it forces you to take the chaos of your mind, like the fairly abstract ideas that float around in your head, right, and to put them in some sort of a linear form. So it really is like just a great exercise, even if you're going to write and not I would recommend everybody write a journal or something, but just the process of writing, man, is just so good for the human mind. So yeah, I just started writing and then I was like, all right, well, some of this stuff seems pretty interesting. So I just kept writing and eventually I had like
Is this based on your opinion of life, or is this what's this stuff you've read from Plato and these other philosophers?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's all just opinions, man. It's like, I can't it's just what I've observed. I'm not here to tell anybody how it is. Like, this is just what I've learned from my experiences and what I think.
Well, I think a big thing that would be to talk about here is what's your opinion on depression and stuff like that? How do you know what I mean? What's your take on how to solve all that kind of thing? I'm just curious,
Yeah.
This is just me and you having a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because it's funny, I saw, oh God, what's his name? I saw Tucker Carlson interview the guy, he was one of the most popular guys.
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate. Did you see that interview?
I haven't watched it yet, but it's the most watched interview of all time, but it's got like 100 million hits.
It's really amazing because
I think I have watched that one, actually.
Me and the wife listened to it on the way out. We drove out to California. Did you know that? We drove. She wanted to see the country.
Nice.
Well, I thought it would be nice. It wasn't nice until we got to Arizona, pretty much, but the rest of our country looks like a third world country, but that's a whole nother subject. But anyway, the Andrew Tate thing, I think he's fascinating because of his take on depression. And I just want to hear your take on depression. He says, I haven't got time to be depressed.
Yeah, he says if he doesn't believe in it, then he can't get it. Yeah, I've heard him talk about it. Mm-hmm. So there's so many people who, do you believe in the power of positive thinking? Do you think that, or what would be the other words for it? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah. So
do you make your own way in the simulation?
Yeah,
that's what I'm curious about your opinion.
Yeah, for sure. No, so yeah, I absolutely believe that, like, thinking in a structured way and like through things like prayer, like that's a great example of a method of positive thinking that people have been doing for thousands of years. Like, that's in the Bible, right? So, our minds, I believe, are intimately connected with the world around us and our experience. When it comes to your first question about depression, I just think we got to be careful about giving names to these things, because, like, of course you're going to have times in life where you don't feel good. Like, you can't feel good all the time. That's just not how it works. Like, you're going to go through shit. And if you have, any lick of mental resilience or some sort of ambition about you or some sort of drive to what you're doing, why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, then you'll be able to bear those bad times and keep going through them. Nietzsche said, a man with a why can bear almost any how. So if your life is set up in a way where you have a mission, I can just speak to myself and maybe just to men in particular, like, we're mission driven creatures. So yeah, like, certainly you have times where you don't feel good, but that doesn't mean you need to label yourself as, oh, I have depression. because now you're just speaking this thing into existence. Now you're like giving this thing a name.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. That's very interesting.
Those are my thoughts on it.
And do you feel like there's a way to fight negative thoughts? I mean, this is all I figure in your books and stuff. That's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, is because this is about helping people. And, you know, and it's funny. I mean, a podcast gets, you know, sometimes 80,000 views, and sometimes, you know, it doesn't get so many views.
Yeah.
It's like, so I'm just wondering how do you fight that negative thoughts? You know, I mean, is there a way, you said prayer, and you said, meditation and stuff. I mean, a friend of mine, I mean, I'm not going to name him on here, but he keeps saying, you need to go to the park and just sit and just clear your mind. And
yeah,
I think that's good. But see, my relationship with God is what keeps me okay, you know? And there, being a producer, I mean, there's so many ups and downs, and, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying from my personal thing, because like I said, this is me and you talking, and I'm just going, my personal thing is where I have a problem is, this record should have been huge. Why wasn't it? What was the factors that played into this record not being huge? Mm-hmm. What was it, me as a producer? Was it the business side? Was it just fate? And how do you feel? Okay, let me back up. First of all, do you believe in the simulation theory, and do you believe that that's what we're in?
Explain what you mean by simulation theory so I can better answer your question. Like a computer or what? Actually, I'll just answer. I know what you mean.
Okay, this is all imaginary.
Yeah. So yes, but I'm very particular with how I answer this question, because when people talk about the simulation theory, they talk about us being in like some video game on some computer somewhere. Like, yes, I think it's a simulation, but it's a real simulation. It's a simulation built by a creator, built by some sort of higher power, God, who created this system for us to exist in. Certain parts of this system we can see and feel and experience with our five senses. Most of this system exists outside of our ability to perceive. So, yeah, I mean, it's a simulation, but it's like a spiritual simulation. It's like a real simulation. It's not, I don't think it's like this artificial projection that is like coming from this strange like place of malice from some like coder somewhere. Like, I think, yeah, it's real. It's here. We're in it right now. Dreams are a good example of when like parts of that simulation kind of leak around and you experience things that might not make sense, you know?
Right. Okay. That leads me to a lot more questions, you know?
Let's get into it.
Well, do you feel like you can bend your existence? Because I look at some of these guys that are super, super, super billionaires. I'm like, they have mastered the simulation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And it wasn't because a lot of them came from nothing, you know, but they bent the simulation in their way. Mm-hmm. And my thing is like, if everybody bent the simulation in that way, would the world be a better place? I'm saying, okay, take for instance, okay, I know this sounds absolutely sci-fi and ridiculous, but like when in the Matrix, when the little girl bends the spoon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to look at that and I have to go, hang on here, because there's a meaning to that. And I think there really is. Like, a good example is Oprah Winfrey. I mean, billionaire lady. I'm not a huge fan, but I don't know her. I don't know enough about her. So I think she was a great actor, you know, actress. But I look at her and I go, man, she knows how to bend the simulation.
Yeah.
Now, other people that are Christians, you know, would say she's a Satanist or she's some kind of evil. She's in the Illuminati or some shit like that. Do you think a person though can bend the simulation in their way with the way they think, with the way their thoughts are?
Yes.
And how would you say to do that? Besides meditation and prayer, I mean,
well, you say bend the simulation, like, So here's the thing: is like let's say you build a boat and I build a boat. I put better parts in my boat. My boat's going to cut through the water faster. It's going to experience less problems. So like, what kind of thoughts are you building your mind out of? Are you building your mind with good thoughts, like, or thoughts of just like the things that get thrown at you, reacting to the world around you, or are you like intentionally cultivating a mind that thinks with discipline and is focused on solving certain problems and is focused on cultivating a certain type of life? Is your mind just reacting to everything, or do you have a proactive mind? So yeah, like, I don't think it's necessarily like if I think hard enough, I can, make this table grow. Although I've certainly been in some states of consciousness where I might have been convinced I could do that. But I don't think it's like that. But I do think that there's certain things we can do, or certain. For me, it's just like the books we read, man. Like the books we read, and the things that we put into our mind, and the things we listen to, the music we listen to, like those things absolutely alter the reality. Now, the question is, are our thoughts actually changing the world around us, or is it more so that internally we are changing and we're changing out the lens? Like on the camera, you change out the lens, you go from the wide lens. So either way, I don't have all the answers, but either way, yeah, I mean, we're not just helpless floating around completely out of control.